This might just be the least Merlin-esque Merlin I've ever seen in a movie. Before we get into it, today's movie was actually requested in the comments by my wife Angie, so shout out to her. The deck is always shuffled, and this one came at your request. Now, if there's a movie you want me to take a look at, leave it in the comments. And if I pick yours, I'll give you a shout out like I did in this video. Today we're looking at Descendants, The Rise of Red. Let's start with the one thing this movie absolutely gets right. The music. The songs were actually a lot of fun. And the choreography has a big, ridiculous Disney musical energy that makes you want to jump up and perform it yourself. There were several moments watching this movie where I thought, yeah, I would love to be in that number. And that's a good sign for a musical. If the songs make you want to sing them or dance yourself, the movie's doing something right. And honestly, I could listen to the music all day. But I would never choose to watch the movie again. Because once the music stops, the story makes less and less sense. Now here's where the movie really starts to lose me. The entire story revolves around this mysterious prank involving the Queen of Hearts and Cinderella when they were younger. The movie keeps hinting that this moment is the reason the Queen of Hearts becomes the villain we know. But when the movie finally shows what actually happened, it barely makes any sense. The cause and effects just don't line up with how they set it up. And when the central event in your story doesn't make any sense, the whole plot starts to feel shaky. Which brings us back to Merlin, because earlier I said this might be the least Merlin-esque Merlin I've ever seen in a movie. And honestly, that sums up a bigger issue with what this movie has. A lot of legacy characters show up, but they don't feel quite right. Aladdin shows up and just talks about how pretty Jasmine is. Prince Charming suddenly isn't Christopher, even though they have the same actors as the brandy Cinderella. Even Cinderella herself, she looks totally different with bright blue hair. And then you get to Merlin. And instead of this legendary wizard like you'd expect, he feels more like a bumbling school administrator who just happens to be named Merlin. There's also one moment that really confused me while watching. When Uliana shows up, she looks so similar to Uma, I genuinely thought they were the same character. Same Sea Witch vibe, similar hair, similar styling, but then I realized something. Uliana is supposed to be part of Cinderella's generation, while Uma is a generation of her kids. So for a second, my brain thought, wait, did she not age at all? That's usually a sign the character designs could have been a little bit more distinct. There was also a lyric in one of the songs that made me stop and think for a second. One character says, "There's nothing she wouldn't do if her heart says that it's right." And I get the sentiment. It's supposed to sound heroic, but this is a kids' movie. And Disney songs are usually really literal. For example, Beauty and the Beast, when Gaston sings about decorating with antlers, the room is literally covered with antlers. So when a lyric says, "There's nothing you wouldn't do if your heart tells you it's right," that's a pretty absolute message. And in a movie aimed at kids, that's the kind of line that made me pause for a second. Alright, from this moment on, we're going to be talking about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you want to go in blind, you can skip ahead to this point here to get to the card reveal. Otherwise, let's just talk about what actually happens. So The movie spends the entire story building up this prank between Cinderella and the Queen of Hearts. Like, this is the moment that explains everything. Like, this is the event that turns the Queen of Hearts into the villain that we all know. But when the movie finally explains what really went down, Cinderella didn't have anything to do with it. The villains are the ones who caused all the chaos. So the event that's supposed to explain the Queen of Hearts transformation and why she hates Cinderella doesn't explain anything. At the end of the day, this movie really has some fun music, some energetic choreography, but the logic just doesn't hold together. I'd absolutely listen to the soundtrack again, but I probably wouldn't choose to sit down and watch this movie ever again. So let's see what the wild card says. It's a really low queen. There are some fun moments here, especially in the music and with the choreography, but the story isn't strong enough for me to truly recommend going out of your way to watch it. This movie is very underwhelming because it tries to be this spectacular movie, but breaks its own logic and isn't even that interesting when it does. But that's my hand. Let's see yours. And once again, thanks to my wife Angie for suggesting this one. If there's a movie you want me to take a look at, leave it in the comments. And if I pick yours, I'll give you a shout out like I did in this video.